Hello and welcome to the weekly drive. It's so amazing to see you here and be able to speak to you about things that I am passionate about. But it's more than just what I'm passionate about. It's about helping you see things from a different perspective, learn things, and think about how this could apply to you. What would it mean to be an author? What are the kind of things that I need to be thinking about? Because authorship is not merely sitting down and writing a manuscript to create a book. There's so many elements to being an author. And for me, it's important that I can share that wisdom, that learning with you so that you can do it with ease and grace. So let's get right on down to what we're going to be talking about this week. And we are talking about the art of storytelling. For me, everything's about it is an art form, just like writing's an art form, storytelling's an art form, speaking's an art form. And I know we speak and we write every day, but when we craft consciously the message that we want to get across, whether it was drawing a picture, an illustration, telling a story to get your point across, whether it's a personal story, universal story, or metaphor, when you really embrace it and you've got those building blocks and you have those elements of what makes storytelling an art form, then you can practice. So let's have a look at some of those elements. The power of personal narrative. Now, that narrative is just a word for storytelling. It's how we say it, it's the words that we use. And one of the ways at Book Brilliance Publishing to help you find that personal narrative, to find that voice, because sometimes people, it's challenging to find your voice, whether you're talking or writing in a way that captivates people, captivates your audience. So we do that through unveiling the golden thread of your life. When you understand the highs and lows of your life, you begin to see the stories within that, and you begin to see that these stories have lessons. You don't go through challenges, adversities, roadblocks, potholes for no reason. There's always a reason for everything that you experience in life. Sometimes you get what you want, and other times it passes you by. Sometimes you don't go for it for fear, and sometimes you just not sure. You procrastinate, you doubt, you have a deliberation that leads you to a different outcome. So, you know, where you start, you might be, you can see here, this is quite a nice little image we've got here. You know, you might be in the thunderstorms, crashing and thunder and lightning. But then again, you've got this amazing way to use that to move you up. Sometimes you've got enough courage and you've got enough confidence to leap over. But no matter what, you go up, you slide down, you go round about, you go through the chicanes, all of it. But as long as you're moving forward, it's important. So the power of personal narrative is those stories that you find when you reflect and look back at your life. So you probably could think right now, what story could I share that shows resilience? When were you resilient in your life? When did you keep going and not give up? When did you overcome? What story shows you overcoming an obstacle? So for me, my biggest obstacle in life was when my marriage fell apart in my final year of doing my degree. Many women would have given up because I ended up homeless with 4 children. Many men would have given up, not just women. Many people would have given up. But no, I used that to fuel me because I found a why, because I could not subject my children to a life of poverty. They had not been used to it. It's not what they knew. And I didn't want that for my children. I grew up in a poor background. But when you can find those resources that can change your life and give you freedom and opportunity, that's why we don't want to stay poor. Nobody that's poor wants to stay there because they can't make decisions because they're suppressed. So you have within you many stories, but you have to find the right one for the right audience. So when you find it and you can tell that story because you've got the memories, you can put yourself back in that place. It's not just negative, it's about what. So for example, keeping on the theme of getting my degree, one of the happiest days of my life was my graduation day for personal achievement. You know, put aside birthing 4 children, but that is one of the happiest days because it was all under my steam. I didn't have anyone else. I had me and my intrinsic drive. So the power of personal narrative, do not underestimate it and don't think your story has got meaning or people want to hear it. They do. So life is a personal journey. It is a journey, it's an adventure. We have highs, we have lows, different times of our life. So at this point in my life, I can go lots of lovely holidays. I never went for the first 40 years of my life. I think I had 1 or 2 holidays in 40 years. But now I'm making up for it in the second half. So you need to embrace the personal journey because there's lots of learning. And we have those peaks and those troughs that also reveal themselves through the golden thread. So it's a continuation. And what was that impact of those stories? So what is it? So keeping on, obviously, I can talk about me at this point, but what was the impact of getting that degree on me and my life? Massive, massive. It meant I could eventually buy a house. I could see my children through university. I was confident. I grew within my career in teaching. And if I hadn't got that degree, none of that would have happened. So, what has been the impact of those journeys? Write it down. We'll talk about that in a minute. But take time and give gratitude and thanks for everything you've got. Even the dark times, there's lots of light within it. And there'll be lots of aha moments because it's made you the person you are today. And these are the stories and this embracing it to show people they shouldn't be afraid of being poor. They shouldn't be afraid of losing a job, of being divorced, of having addiction, of whatever it is. We try to hide all this for shame, fear, and guilt. But no, when you embrace it and you focus on the learning, that gives you personal power. Let's look at healing through narrative. So telling stories are very healing. And when you share those stories, it's quite therapeutic. Even if you're on a stage and you've got 200 people in front of you and you're telling a story of a failure and how you managed to rise in that time, the audience will feel it when you learn all the little skills of how you tell story, of course. But the will, so there's lots of ways that it can help you. I don't know if you'll see my notes. Let me put it up. So narrative and healing can help you through journaling. Journal it out. Get everything down and then tell the story. So retelling it, journaling, writing a memoir. Memoirs. So we publish memoirs, and the people who write the memoir are totally transformed. Everybody's transformed through the writing journey, but memoirs in particular can transform you beyond what you thought was ever possible. Also, writing letters, talking within groups. These are all ways of helping healing, and your story will help other people to heal. So you should never be afraid of sharing your story, because for you finding the courage to share that story in whatever form, a blog, a memoir, in talking groups, talking therapy, whatever works for you, find a way, journal it out. And when you share it, you feel much lighter. And you will discover that there's someone in that circle who absolutely will thank you for sharing it, because they sometimes feel that they are alone, that no one else has gone through what they've experienced. But we know that's not true. So heal. I remember once when I was at the start of this journey, and I remember, I think I was watching a video, and it was about sharing stories. And also, someone on stage live once said, when you can share your story and you don't break down in floods of tears, you know you're healing. So think about a story that you've got that was painful. Could be the death of a loved one. It could be the end of a marriage, whatever. And you couldn't bring yourself to talk about it because every time you did, you just broke down in tears. But eventually, over time and through different work and practices, and just as life goes on, you eventually find you can talk about things and not break down. So I can talk about most things in my life and not break down, but occasionally I talk about it and someone says something and it does still bring a tear to my eye. But it's the enormity of it, and it's actually the healing of it that sometimes helps. And remember, the tears are cleansing. So we want to create a culture of empathy. And there's always a ripple effect when we share our stories, as I touched on in the previous slide. And that's all about, well, if you ever told a story and someone says, that happened to me, or you might say, I mean, this is really heart-rendering, but maybe your child died, and someone goes, I haven't told anybody, but I lost a baby when it was 7 days old. Or, and people sweep a lot of these things under the carpet. They don't want to be reminded. The pain's too much. But actually, when you share your story and you find that the people have also they've experienced it, then that's very healing as well. And that creates a ripple effect, and that gives people strength, and it gives them the courage to speak out. But of course, we've got to create the right environment. So make sure you create a safe and secure environment where people feel supported and heard, where they're going to be listened to, because it takes courage to share your story. Now, here we're getting on to, let's move the mood of this weekly drive, crafting with words, the transformative power of language. Now, this is, you see, I've come alive. There's a chap called Dr. David Hawkins, and I love his work. It's all around the oh my goodness, I'll come back to me in a minute. It's all around the words and the level of energy that each word has. Map of consciousness, how could I forget? And it starts with those words that vibrate less than 200. We got up to 1,000, which is enlightenment. And we start off with shame and guilt right at the bottom with a vibrational level of 20. So when you think of people, again, I'm just going to give a warning because I'm going to say something here that might be a trigger point. But people who commit suicide or attempt suicide are at the lowest form, at the lowest part in their life. Their vibrational level is very low. So they've probably got shame and guilt going on inside of them. And that is vibrating at 20. And if we think of courage at 200, they're quite a way to go. So they need a lot of understanding and empathy. But words have so much power. Just let's think about this. So if I say the word divorce to you, what's just happened to the energy in your body? Did you feel it going southward? But then if I say baby, what happens? It comes up birth of a baby. It comes up winning, comes up, you know, accomplishment. These are all things that create a rise in your energy. So the words that you use, you have to be very, very careful because they can change your state. They can change your energy. So, oh, sorry, excuse me. And they can change the way you think and the way you feel, obviously. But what's more about words? This comes from 20 years or more of teaching. Sorry, I think it's hay fever. Oh, I've just been outside and I've come in. And I know it's quite high pollen today. Apologies for that. And these words can make a significant difference as to how people think and feel and see. And one of the things, whether you're speaking or whether you're writing, is you want to create opportunity for the audience to create their own imagery. So there's a thing called show, not tell. I'm not talking about that particularly today, but it's all around just not telling someone. Oh, I felt really sad the other day when I watched, I don't know, Bambi. But how could you show that? I'm going to park that because I want to do a whole session on show, not tell. It's very important. But let's look at a list of words. I'm going to stop sharing this for the moment. I'm going to reshare. I'm going to share. Where's it gone? I was working on it a little minute ago. I was working on it just before I came on. Whoa, hold on, let me open it. Wait, let me make sure it's still there so I can find it. Yeah, I can see it. So let me try and share again. Technology, don't you just love it? Here we go. Just decided to show this time. So I want you look at this out of storytelling. So I'm not looking at adjectives. I'm going to look at verbs. Verbs create great imagery. So, oh, where's the first list? Ah, oh, this is it. Yeah. So this is a list of, this is for business writing. So you might say I'm going to analyze my social media data. But if you scrutinize it, what if you just conjured up in your mind? What if you talk about we need to change from being downtrodden to being, you know, a leader of the pack? But what if you say we're going to transform? So change and transform conjures up two different types of imagery. So transform has got way more energy in it. Let's look at, oh, I need to fix that problem we have in our accounts. What if we said we need to resolve that problem? That suggests you're going to find a solution. But fix, well, how are you going to fix it? It makes the brain think, well, how am I going to do it? Whereas resolve suggests that you might have a starting point, suggests you're more open to finding the solution. Let's have another one. Improve. So we must improve our followers. What if you said we must enhance the number of followers month on month? Enhance means it's something more. You've already got something that's great, but improve could suggest, well, maybe it's not good enough. Whereas enhance means we've got something that's like a great starting point. Increase, amplify. Let's increase the number of strategy sessions we do each week. Let's amplify our voice in social media. Or what about let's use the resources we have. Well, let's utilize them. So you can see we can do that. And what's the best way of doing that? Find a thesaurus, whether it's online or if you still like old-fashioned ways. So let's look at some of the sentences now. So I use scrutinize. So the word for scrutinize was analyze. So I'm going to read it to you. Let's see if I can make this bigger because it's not. Okay. So if I said to you, the finance team will scrutinise the quarterly reports to identify, will analyse the quarterly reports to identify any discrepancies. But if you say the finance team will scrutinise, it means it's going to look closely. Analyse doesn't suggest that action. The other one, transform, and that was change. Our goal is to change the customer service experience. What if you said our goal is to transform the customer service experience? Do you see the energy and do you see how that would sound to your audience or to your reader if you're writing that? Let's do clarify. Let me see what clarify was. Explain. Okay. Could you explain the details of the contract? Could you clarify the details of the contract? That means those details are there, but we want a better shared understanding. So you can see resolve. We need to resolve the technical issues. So words are massive for me. And I want you to start to, let's go back to our PowerPoints. So I want you to really think about the words you're using. Now, here is the caveat to that. The first time you write or the first time you start your speech, you're not going to use all those amazing words. You have to be authentic and speak from your heart. But over time, you will work on it and you will find better quality words. You will find there's words that you repeat over and over again. It becomes boring to listen to and very boring in your writing. If you find yourself using the same word over and over again, find a new word, something more creative, imaginative, that evokes a feeling within your audience. I wonder if you noticed that I paused a minute ago. And I paused, and don't forget, pausing is important. I paused because I was about to use the word so, and it's a word I overuse. It's a very bad habit I have when I'm speaking. Therefore, I'm trying to eliminate it, and being mindful, I can pause. Then I don't use it. I might have said, then I can pause so I don't use it. That would have been my default. But I'm changing my own way because it begins with awareness. So I want you to be aware. There we had a so. I want you to be aware of the words that you keep repeating. If you're not sure, I think you will be sure though. You'll know. Some people say absolutely. I say brilliant a lot, but I say deliberately because of Book Brilliance Publishing. Another word I used to say a lot was absolutely. It's all right to say it now and again, but find alternatives to the words that you overuse. You should have 3 words for the same word. That way, you will always keep people on their toes, your audience won't be bored, and you'll have a more engaging speech. So, you really need to be in a community that's going on a similar journey to you. So come along and join our Book Brilliance tribe on Facebook, where there's lots and lots of valuable resources, and you can find and use these, discuss them, have a safe place to try things out, see if it works, get feedback. The only way you move forward is with feedback. I definitely know about that as a teacher. You are used to having scrutiny in the classroom by the head teacher and other members of the leadership team, where they would observe your lessons and you had to take the feedback. If you got a good person, it would be lovely to sit and get the feedback. Some people are not good at giving feedback, and it should always be 2 stars and a wish. What was great about it, and give them one thing to work on. They usually have a tick sheet so they can see what was good, and they can say that you need to work on these. I'll be back in 2 months' time, 3 months' time. I want to see improvement in those areas. So you get to work on improving them. It's so important that you get feedback from your peers, people you trust, people who are not going to cut you down, but people who are going to lift you up, who are going to give you positive advice and positive tips and things to try. So let's look, there we go. So let's look at your speaking, the art of storytelling, and find those stories and practice those stories. Practice with a 1-minute story. And when you get that nailed, then try a 3-minute story, then a 5-minute story. Your stories within a speech should only be short. They should be 1 to 3 minutes long. There we have it. So the art of storytelling is about speaking and writing. It's about the words you use. It's about the energy of the words that you use. It's about the different ways in which you can convey that art of storytelling, where you can practice, where no one needs to hear or see at the time, but you need to make it more conscious within your mind. And then you practice in front of a mirror, record yourself with a small audience, with a larger audience. And before you know it, those words will be tripping off your tongue and people will be hanging on to every word. The important thing is when you're storytelling, which I haven't said, I'm going to give you a bonus takeaway, is try and make your story in the present tense. You take the audience with you on that journey. Don't recount it and tell it in the past tense. Put it into the present tense. Now that is a gift and a skill. So just write it out in the past tense. So write literally a paragraph of a story as you would. Go back and look at it. Turn it into the present tense and record in the past tense first, put it into the present tense and then re-record, and what you'll see the transformation in that storytelling. The more you can say in the present tense, the better. So there we go. Come and join us at the Book Brilliant Tribe on Facebook. You'll be welcome there. If you want to have a chat, I'll put my scheduler. Actually, I'll get you to take a scorecard. Do that. And if you feel you want to have a chat after that, then please come and have a chat with us. And let's see how we can improve your storytelling through writing your book. Until the next time, this is Brenda saying, be brilliant. Much love. Till next time. Toodle pip.